Brock Bowers and Travis Kelce are two tight ends that we are avoiding at draft cost this season. We tell you why, plus reveal 4 other tight ends to stay away from on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk, and when I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and fantasy analyst with NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL, fantasy, and betting for sportingnews.com.
This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Today, we are going to finish up the players we're avoiding by doing the tight end position. We already did the quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers throughout this week. So if you missed those episodes, go back and listen. We will go through 6 tight ends that we're avoiding in drafts, 3 each. 1 each that are going earlier in the draft, 1 that's going in the middle rounds, and then 1 each that's going late in drafts, but we still are not touching them despite their low draft costs. Vinny, who is your least favorite highly drafted tight end to target this year?
Yeah, it's a name that we've known as being near the top of the rankings, but not anymore. This year, you might be surprised he's tight end 7. That's Travis Kelce, and he's actually 81 overall. So you're talking about 7th round pick. We haven't seen that in a while for Travis Kelce with the ranking, but everyone's looking at last year. But it's not just last year, right? It's the cumulative effect of being in the playoffs all the time. You knew age was going to get to him at some point. And now they slowed him down a bit. He just wasn't as effective, we know. And the drop-off was there. We knew it was coming at some point, but he's kind of held it off as long as possible. That said, I think he could bounce back a little bit this year. We've heard really nothing from Travis Kelce this offseason. I think there's a bit of recuperation there, trying to get back on track. Maybe just say, I need some time here to take away from the game. Because, again, just like Patrick Mahomes, this guy is playing a lot of games every year, right? And he's out there. He's working hard to be out there as much as possible. If he misses a game here early in the season, he's going to be out there for the playoffs all the way through the Super Bowl, which has been the case the past 3 years. That's a lot of games to play, especially for an older player. So I think the wear down is happening. There's a bit of a transition. It's not totally exploded yet, right? But we do have Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice coming into their own as 2nd and 3rd year wide receivers. So that's going to say, hey, we're going to pivot a little bit away. You got Marquise Hollywood Brown as well, who's a bit of a deep threat. So again, they're not going to be as desperate with Travis Kelce. What happened was he was right there with Tyreek Hill producing. Then he had the spikes, right? When Tyreek Hill was gone, Travis Kelce just dominated targets, and he was still chugging along in his prime. Then we had the other targets emerge. Mahomes having a bit of regression with his numbers. And then you had just Kelce getting a little bit older and showing the effects of his age. So, again, right around Travis Kelce, a few picks earlier, you get TJ Hawkinson at tight end. Much rather have him. You get Mark Andrews essentially back-to-back with Kelce. I'd much rather have Mark Andrews. There wasn't much that I saw slowing down with him. He is younger as well, but just look at what you're giving up, though. Travis Hunter, Jordan Addison, Rome Odunze. These are some upside players you're really giving up if you target Travis Kelce. And again, if you want a tight end, go for Hawkinson a little bit earlier, or Andrews a little bit earlier or later. So I just don't think there's value to be found with Travis Kelce, even at that tight end 7, which might seem surprising and low to some people, but I think if it's not just right, it might be a little bit more than what he's going to do this season.
Yeah, with Kelce, I think we started to see that drop off from him in 2023 slightly, where he was averaging just 10.6 yards per reception when he was always a guy that was getting 12 plus yards per reception in his career because he was like that dynamic of a tight end. It went down to 10.6 in 2023, and then it went down again massively in 2024, averaging 8.5 yards per reception. That's atrocious. I think we're just starting to see his decline. He still was targeted like crazy last year, 133 targets. It just didn't turn into fantasy production. You can't expect him to see more targets than that. If anything, you expect that to go down. Maybe, he only caught 3 touchdowns. So you're saying, okay, that can go up. but he only had 5 in 2023 as well. So it seems like he's starting to struggle in that area too. So a lot going against him here. I think he just hit that age where he's just too old now. I mean, there's only one tight end that's ever recorded 600 or more receiving yards in their age 36 or older season. And that's what Kelce's going into right now, his age 36 season. That was Tony Gonzalez in 2012 and 2013. And then only 2 tight ends have ever had 5 or more receiving touchdowns in their age 36 or older season. That was Gonzalez and Antonio Gates. Travis Kelce's up there with them as, one of the best tight ends ever. So maybe he could do it, but I'm not taking the shot on that. Now, my guy, I'm going bold here. It's Brock Bowers. He's going as the tight end 1, and I want nothing to do with that. I get it. He finished as the tight end 1 in total fantasy points in his rookie season. That's very exciting. But he was a tight end 2 on average, and the points he scored last year at 12 points per game in half PPR, that's just not enough of a difference maker. Even if he had the same season where he got so many targets, so many receptions, put up the receiving yards, that's not enough to justify using such a high draft pick on him. He's going as the 17th overall pick in the draft. That's really my bigger concern than him going first among tight ends. It's how early he's going among other players. Like, he's going ahead of A.J. Brown and Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs and Bucky Irving, like players that are so, like, are going to be so impactful for your team. And Brock Bowers can do that, but I just don't think he's enough of a difference maker. As I don't think he or Sam Laporta will end that differently. And Sam Laporta, you get in the 58th overall. If I'm going to pay up for a tight end, it's going to be George Kittle, who, again, you can get a good 16, 17 picks after you're taking Brock Bowers. The guys going around Bowers are just way too important to go with that. Like, when we were starting to take Travis Kelce at the end of the first round, that's when he was averaging 15 yards or 15 points per game. There's even a season he averaged 17 points per game. Mark Andrews, like in 2021, when he had his huge season, it was 14.5 points per game. His Brock Bowers 12.2 points per game just will not do it if you're taking him that early.
Yeah, it's not Travis Kelce part 2 where he has got such a difference between him, the delta between him and the next tight end. It's just not that big of a gap. And in average scoring in some formats, George Kittle was better than him last season. So when we look at this, I think there's 3 that I would avoid. I think there's going to be a lot of buzz, and you can take advantage of this buzz to get better value. It's not just Bowers, right? He's coming with a ton of hype, but taking him ahead of, like, even Ladd McConkey at wide receiver, or some of these other guys with upside, Jacobs and Taylor at running back. I mean, A.J. Brown, it's just kind of insane that you would, like, say he's at the same level. Even Christian McCaffrey and Devin Achane could potentially go behind him. No, you're not doing that at all in your leagues. Now, if you wait a little bit, I think the hype goes to him, Sam Laporta, and Trey McBride. These are just very expensive guys that you're going to overpay for, and someone else is going to overpay in your draft. Now, George Kittle is going to be a nice, just right fit there. And I mentioned 2 other guys right around Kelce, Hawkinson and Andrews. I mean, those 3, between Kittle, Hawkinson, and Andrews, that's where I want to target my tight ends most this season. And if you want to pay up for someone, I think Laporta might be it, but it depends. Like, if he's going after Kittle, he's a nice value there. But if he's going between Bowers and McBride, then he's too expensive, right? But if he's going 4th, and then I feel really good about taking Laporta. But again, you have to see what his value is or what his end ranking is going to be and where he's trending to right now. But the Bowers just too expensive. Again, you give up too much. And again, you don't need to do that tight end to get an advantage, because you're giving up another advantage that you might have with a potential wide receiver 1, an RB1 for your team. You just can't do that. You just can't throw away that opportunity. So opportunity cost is maybe even greater than the actual cost for Brock Bowers at the, I guess, 2nd round pick. I guess that's what you're looking at now.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Laporta is right now sitting 58th overall off the board. The 2 running backs going after him are DeAndre Swift and Travion Henderson, right? So that's who you're picking Laporta over. With Brock Bowers, you're picking him over Jonathan Taylor or Josh Jacobs. Like, I would much rather Sam Laporta and Jonathan Taylor than Brock Bowers and DeAndre Swift. Like, it's just not even a question for me. So that's where I'm leaning. We'll get into 4 more tight ends that we are avoiding in these upcoming drafts right after a quick break. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, Vinnie and I are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or veteran making your millionth league. Our league's been running through Yahoo for a while now because of their easy setup, great mobile app, and I just love how easy their message boards makes it to just have fun conversations with all my league mates all season long. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins August 4th. Stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. All right, let's go a little bit deeper into drafts. And let's say you're not going for one of the top tight ends and you're looking for a guy in the middle rounds, 7th, 8th, 9th round. But this guy you're not excited about, and it's not someone you're targeting. And who's that guy for you, Vinny?
Yeah, he's ranked at tight end 10, which I'm trying to wrap my head around this. And he's a guy that we haven't really talked about all that much this offseason. I don't know if anyone's really talked about him that much. It's Tucker Kraft of the Packers. I'm trying to figure out why he's tight end 10. Is it just because there's a drop-off after we get to the David Njoku, Browns, and then the Evan Ingram transition to the Broncos, and then it just drops off, and we just need to find names to put on the list? It seems like that's the case. When you get past 8, 9 at tight end, you're like, okay, we're just throwing Tucker Kraft. Well, I have a major problem with Tucker Kraft for a lot of reasons. I mean, you can start with his teammate, Luke Musgrave. He's healthy. He's on the team. This team also had only one vacated target. Well, technically, I think that target actually may not be vacated because it was a tight end. Actually, it was John Fitzpatrick is the guy that had the one target that they may or may not have back this season. So otherwise, this team has got all their receivers back. Then we have Mecole Hardman in the mix. We have their first-round pick, Matthew Golden. We have Savion Williams in the mix, another rookie. You are just loaded here. And don't forget, Jane Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, they're all on this team. Watson, we'll see about his health. But then you have a second tight end, of course, in Musgrave. So I don't know where this value is coming from. Like, I don't see Tucker Kraft just being very nice unless he scores enough times, right? I mean, he's going to have to score quite a few touchdowns to really pay off. And now Golden is in the mix, right? Whatever the status of Watson is, right? You still have Golden and Reed and Doubs, and Dontavian Wicks is still hanging around on this team. Like, that's in general. The Packers have come up quite a bit here because we've talked about Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs. We're going for a third guy now we're not targeting from this team. Again, there's just maybe too many mouths to feed, not much variable change here that we're looking at, especially in the passing game. I think they have to go more with wide receivers. I mean, I think of all this years that they invested in a first-round receiver, I think this was the most puzzling, right? Just because they had some depth, and I know their receivers are not healthy, but it seemed like a bit of a luxury pick for a team that may need some help elsewhere. You're also questioning what are they doing exactly, because Zach Tom got a big contract at offensive tackle. So I'm not sure how this personnel is all coming together for the Packers. The one thing I know is, like, it's just very confusing in a situation I want to avoid, especially in the passing game. Again, Kraft, nothing against his physical talent, but there's just so many people that could get the ball, and there's like nobody that really stands out. So it could be a real committee situational route approach here to, like, what are we going to do here? So again, and you just can't discount Musgrave being a factor. He's more of the big play tight end. Kraft is more touchdown dependent, but either way, I just can't invest in a Packers tight end this season.
Yeah, Luke Musgrave has been dealing with a bunch of injuries throughout his career, but if he's healthy, he's going to steal snaps and targets from Kraft. It's still Kraft you want to draft over the, among the two, but he finished as a tight end 9 last season in his second year. He's going as a tight end 9 now, but you're getting no value from that. Like, if he finishes as a tight end 9 and you draft him tight end 9, you're not going to feel good about that. Like last year, even with him finishing as a tight end 9, he had 9 games where he scored 6 or fewer fantasy points. So more than half the time he did absolutely nothing whatsoever. And then the only times he ever scored more than 10 fantasy points is when he got that touchdown. And Like even when he got the touchdown, it was 11.6 points, 9.6, 10.8. He had 2 big games all year long and really only one big one where he had 22 fantasy points. The rest 15, 11. Like he just does not offer any excitement. And when you bring up, they added a bunch of new weapons. I'm completely with you that I'm staying away. The guy I'm staying away from, even though I would prefer him over Kraft if I had to make a choice, it would be Evan Ingram. So Kraft is actually right now ranked as a tight end 10 off the boards, while Ingram is tight end 9. I had that wrong. Sorry about that. But with Evan Ingram, I mean, this guy has had one good season, and it was in 2023 when he was a tight end 6 on average. He needed 143 targets to be the tight end 6 in average scoring in a half PPR league. He doesn't score touchdowns. Maybe that changes with a new team, but he's already been on 2 teams and it didn't change. He hasn't scored more than 4 touchdowns in a season since his 2017 rookie season, which was a career high 6 he had that year. And it's just last year he's a tight end 16 on average. And then you had 2020, like really that 2023 year was an outlier year. I do expect maybe he could be the second target on this Broncos offense, but his yards per reception are just way too low. I mean, it was 7.8 last year, 8.4 the year before, 8.9 in 2021. It's just a very low yards per reception that Evan Ingram always manages. And then also the receiving touchdowns scare me. So I'm staying away from Evan Ingram moving forward.
Yeah, I think this is a person that, in general, people are split on in the fantasy community because, again, he has that history of production that's recent with the Jaguars. And everyone looked at, okay, the Broncos, they need pass catchers, right? After Cortland Sutton for Bo Nix. You got Sean Payton, who kind of knows how to use tight ends in the past, but we didn't really see that materialize. It could be because they didn't really have options between the off-injured Greg Dulcich and Adam Troutman. They were just kind of throwing darts to see what they had here at tight end. So maybe just by having a viable person, they might deploy that position a little bit more, but you can't tell really. I think it's a hard offense to read. Are they going to shift more to running the ball? Because keep in mind, the Broncos, the biggest reason they were a contender last year and were pushing the Chiefs and all that in the AFC, their defense. I mean, the defensive player of the year, Pat Surtain, too. So I think this team maybe want to play off that a little bit more, run. And again, Evan Ingram's not like there to block, but I think he's there to give them a body to work in the middle of the field. Now, I don't see him, however, getting the volume that we need, as Michelle laid out to you in Jacksonville. That was just insane volume for that stretch of time where he transitioned from the Giants. It was a nice revelation, right? He was pretty much an afterthought after his first year with the Giants as a fantasy commodity. You revved it up a little bit with the Jaguars, but again, I'm not going back there. He's getting older right now, and it's really hard. Basically what Michelle and I are saying, like, be careful. The David Njoku might be the cutoff at tight end. It might get a little dicey after that, and you're going to make some dart throws, but if you're going to wait that long, just go a little bit deeper, find somebody else that you can target, maybe a Tyler Warren or Jake Ferguson. Just wait a little longer and you can get some value there. Where this kind of, I don't want to call it the dead zone of tight ends. It might be, but again, don't force, oh, I need a starting tight end. Oh, Evan Ingram's on the board. He was pretty good. Don't go in that direction. That's what we're trying to make you avoid it. Think a little bit outside the box and dig a little bit deeper because you'll find some really nice values there. But Evan Ingram and Tucker Kraft are not it.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Andrews is only going 8 spots ahead of Evan Ingram. David Njoku is going 3 spots ahead of Evan Ingram. I would much rather grab one of those 2 guys than Ingram. And if I miss out on Njoku and Andrews or any of the top guys, then that's at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for Tyler Warren, like you said, or maybe even a Brett. It's like just completely punt and go for a Bretton Strange. Like I want to go for some upside there. And that's what we're going to talk about here in this final segment. Like guys that are going super late, but like there's just no reason to draft them because they give you no hope whatsoever. It's just a wasted draft pick. So we'll discuss those after we hear from another one of our sponsors.
All right, this episode, Locked On Fantasy Football, is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing money, you are also building wealth. I mean, what was the one thing that I found surprising? Well, just how much spending on food. I mean, it can add up, right? When you have kids and you're doing takeout and quick dinners, it can really add up there. And I said, okay, maybe we change it up a little bit, refocus where our budgeting goes with food and all that. So it's really helpful. And again, it's easy because I can stay on the same page with my wife with just knowing what we're spending and putting it all together into one pot. So we kind of see the big picture of our finances. And you can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Just use the promo code LOCKDOWNNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKDOWNNFL for half off your first year. Manage your money smarter only with Monarch Money. All right, Michelle, it is time to close the show and look at some, quote, sleepers that we'll be sleeping on. We're going to be napping and let other people take later in drafts at tight end. Who is your guy that you're avoiding when we kind of get out of the tight end ones into the tight end twos?
Yeah, I'm going with Dallas Goedert, who right now is sitting at tight end 13 off the board. He's going right in between Jake Ferguson and Tyler Warren. I would much rather have one of those two guys than Goddard. Goddard has shown us how long now that he's just not going to finish highly, right? Tight end 11 on average last year, tight end 12 in 2023. Over the last 2 seasons, he has just 6 games with at least 10 fantasy points, with 3 of those games being 10 points, 11 points, and 13 points. So barely over that threshold. He has scored 6 or fewer points in 58% of his games over the last 2 seasons. So not only does he kill you more times than he doesn't, but he also has had 3 games where he's even slightly helping you win your week over the last 2 seasons. He's just, we have too long of history now from him. He has never eclipsed the 10 point per game mark in his career on a season. Last year, he's finishing as the tight end 11, 22, 11, 19, 45, 13, 14. He offers no upside in that offense that we expect their defense to be great again, right? They're young and they're going to keep thriving there. And then they're going to keep running the ball with Saquon Barkley. This has turned into a run-first team that just wants to play good defense. There's not enough pass attempts to go around even for A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, let alone also for Dallas Goedert. So completely staying away from him.
Yeah, between Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore, I'm not sure they know they have a third receiver consistently. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, that's what makes both of them great in fantasy along with Saquon Barkley. Those are basically the 3 primary weapons. And Dallas Goedert, the type of games he has that are kind of fantasy effective are like, is the downfield matchup good in the middle of the field? Is someone going to double team A.J. Brown? And are the down the seam plays going to be available? That's when we've seen him rack up some yards, but he's never been a big red zone guy. That really hurts him, right? This team really doesn't look too much in the red zone except running the ball. And if they're going to throw it, they're going to throw to their wide receivers, right? So Dallas Goedert maybe have thrived on a different team. Like, I still consider, hey, what if the Cowboys had got him? So many years back, he was named after the Cowboys, but ended up with the Eagles. I'm sure he's fine. He's been paid a lot and won championship. So I think reality-wise, he's a better tight end than we think. That's why he's there. But he is aging. The Eagles thought about replacing him and looking to the future. So this could be it for him. I think this could be his last season here. We saw him transition from Zach Ertz. I think that could happen with Dallas Goedert after this season. So, again, not a guy we're targeting. Now, a guy that could be fool's gold for some of you that are just looking at the box score. Who did well last year? Who we're going to go after? Jonas Smith. Oh, he had 88 catches. Oh, that was pretty good. 884 yards, 8 TDs. So that seems like some lucky numbers. He was a tight end 6 on average last year. But, of course, we know he was moved to Pittsburgh in a blockbuster deal. Now you might be coming back and saying, wait a second. Didn't Jonas Smith really bug Kyle Pitts in that one season in 2023 was when he was with Arthur Smith, now the Steelers offense coordinator? Then you look at that number, and it's 50, 582, and 3. This is with Arthur Smith in 2023. That was only tight end 20 on the board, and Pitts was tight end 17. Now I have more bad news for you as he splits things with Pat Freiermuth. Last year, that number, if he had done the 23 number, he would be tight end 24. So it would have dropped 18 spots if he was in the Arthur Smith offense. Last year, Pat Freiermuth our favorite, or Michelle's favorite dumping guy, he actually ended up as a tight end 13 on average with 65 catches, 653 yards, and 7 TDs. So what that means is, yet again, Jonnu Smith is in a situation with another decent receiving tight end in a situation where they're going to use 12 personnel. And Arthur Smith has proved when he had Kyle Pitts, he's going to throw to both guys something equal, right? Not all that exciting when you look at the numbers here. So the addition of Smith killed Pat Fryermuth's value. You can't use him anymore. You can't use Jonnu Smith. It's killed 2 tight ends that were in the top 13 last season, this move. So we don't really like the Dolphins and Steelers for doing this, because now we've just crushed a potential guy. Like if Jonnu had stayed in Miami, we would have thought of him. Not the same way as last year, but maybe a backdoor tight end one. Pat Fryermuth might have been a backdoor tight end one. Now completely take them off the board. Like I wasn't targeting Fryermuth, don't worry about that. But Smith, it might lean you into taking this trap, right? Don't fall for it. Stay away from Jonnu Smith. He's done. This is his spike season. It's his Eric Ebron with the Colts season. One season, done. Don't follow this guy at all. Again, all the atmosphere says he's going to regress back to what we saw with Arthur Smith, which was not good.
Yeah, I mean, he was peppered with targets last year. That's just not going to happen this next year. Yeah, he'll be lucky to see 60 targets. I really do think that. So he would have to have 8 touchdowns to even be somewhat fantasy relevant. He had that type of season in 2020 with 65 targets and 8 touchdowns.
Long time ago.
But yeah, and he still only averaged 7.9 fantasy points per game. You still would not be able to play him consistently. You still wouldn't be happy with that. So it's just, last year he should have probably just stayed with the Dolphins and not requested a trade, because that was his best bet to be good. And
I think he'll be good for reality. I think he'll be good for reality to give them those options. But Aaron Rodgers is probably going to be a little fickle with where he throws the ball, and that's also a problem on top of everything else. And again, the Steelers have to dig deep here to find something else other than DK Metcalf. And I feel like it might be a little bit receiver by committee and not pleasing us beyond that. So really Metcalf and the running backs are really where you have to go here this season, as we don't have real super high hopes overall for the Steelers passing game.
Yeah. All right. That will be it for today's episode. Tomorrow, we're going to get into some of the news across training camps after a week of training camp that has started. So we'll dig into all of that fantasy relevant news there. Before I end today, I just want to remind everyone that the Locked On NFL Top 100 has been released on Locked On Sports today. The NFL Top 100 was voted on by the NFL hosts of Locked On, and there are some stunners. Don't miss where your favorite players were ranked. Subscribe to Locked On Sports today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We will talk to you tomorrow. Have a great night. Bye, y'all.